Hey, what's up? This is BKJ Mac from BKJ Mac TV, and we're here to talk about something that's very personal to me. I'm talking about the minimum wage and its state across the United States, and particularly my home state of New York. First of all, the minimum wage is $7.25. $7.25 in 2021. It makes no sense. What is our politicians doing? We have a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president in the White House. I voted for our current president. For too long, for far too long, the minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour. You could imagine there are states like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, so many more, Texas, so many states that adopt the federal minimum wage, and they don't even have their own state minimum wage, which is a way to pay workers that work in those states low wages. And don't get me started on the minimum wage. There's a thing called the tipped minimum wage where a worker is guaranteed to make $2.15 an hour. If they don't make it in tips, their employer is supposed to pay the difference of $7.25. Can we put that picture right into $7.25? It has to equal to $7.25. I feel that there is something wrong with that. It makes no sense. There are people across the United States that are suffering right now, but I am glad to say that there are states that have taken the initiative in raising the minimum wage from $7.25. Seattle has its minimum wage above $15 into $16 territory. California has raised its minimum wage into going into the $15 territory. New Jersey recently, with Governor Phil Murphy signing a law to make the minimum wage to over $15. Plus, it's winning when its rate is tied into the rate of inflation. So if inflation goes up in Jersey, the minimum wage automatically goes up. So people in New Jersey are winning. But I'll tell you this, minimum wage to $15 by 2018, but that's about it. We've been stuck at $15 since 2018, and that's the problem. When you raise the minimum wage, you know what happens? It creates a stagnation because it's not tied to the rate of inflation. So what, 10 years now we're gonna ask to fight for 20, fight for 25? It doesn't make sense. It needs to be tied to the rate of inflation, and it really comes from the federal government that needs to raise the minimum wage. $7.25 or $15 is just not enough for a person to live. That's the minimum. I need people to understand that is the minimum. That is not enough for a person to live, to raise a family in the United States of America. And Jeff, I'm speaking to you to let you know that things could be changed if you write a letter to your local politician, your state politician, your senator, congressman, to President Biden, to let them know that the minimum wage of $7.25, $15 is not enough. That it needs to be $18 to $21 an hour plus, and most importantly, because yes, you can pay, $18 to $21. Yes, it could be tied to the rate of inflation, but something greater needs to happen with minimum wage. It needs to be tied with the guarantee that every American worker that works in the United States, the right to have 2,000 hours a year. I'm saying it right now. Every American worker should be guaranteed 2,000 to 2,100 hours a year. If every American worker is given that guarantee of hours with a higher minimum wage and tied it to the rate of inflation, the economy would boom. Everybody would have money, and a lot of individuals in every state in the country would invest that money to enhance the welfare of their communities across the United States, making America an economic powerhouse for other countries to admire and to replicate. I'm saying this right now. I'm going to say it again. America needs to be better. Every American worker needs a higher minimum wage, and every American should be guaranteed over 2,000 hours a year. Every American company that takes a tax subsidy from the federal government needs to guarantee every American worker 2,000 to 2,100 hours of work every year so that families from the poor to the working class to the lower middle class and middle class don't need to struggle for wages while increasing the minimum wage. And this all could be done. This all could be done if the American Congress comes up with an agreement to work with businesses with a tax subsidy. We'll talk more about this in my next episode, in my next podcast episode about raising the minimum wage. But right now, the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and it is disgusting. And we need to raise it, and we need to raise it now. I'm urging everybody who is listening to this to write to their local politician, their state representative, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, to ensure that the minimum wage is changed, and is changed for the better, and that every American worker is given over 2,000 working hours a year. Thank you for listening to this podcast about raising the minimum wage from BKJ Mac TV. Thank you. More is on the way. Peace.